Hi everyone and welcome to the Poke Plateau. This is a video that originally was planned to go very differently because it was planned 2 years ago. Originally this was going to be planned PSA submission, kind of, showing off the grades of our cards, and it's not going to be like that at all. This video is going to be about how my PSA submission took 600 days to get back to me. So if you're a collector, you probably know who PSA is, what they do. If you're not, well, here's a little backstory. PSA is a US-based card grading company founded in 1991 by founder David Hall, who was the founder of PGCS, another grading company, but specifically for coin collectors. When they first started, the demand for card grading was incredibly low because no one had done it before. Card grading was new. PSA invented card grading, and it didn't really take off at first. Collectors were suspicious why they needed to send their prized possessions, their cards, to some third-party company to get graded. What was the point of getting graded? There was no value to them in having their cards graded. Fast forward to 2022, and PSA is widely regarded as the king of card grading, grading millions of cards a year and currently on pace to grade 8.6 million cards by the end of 2022. But let's go back a sec, specifically to the year 2021, where this story begins and why my PSA submission took 600 days to come back to me. This channel started in January 2021, and Pokemon cards at the time were very hard to come by. They were few and far between. Stores were not able to keep product on the shelf. Courtney and I would drive 40 plus minutes away when we found out stores had stock, just a little bit of stock. We would drive up, be able to bring it back, and be able to make content. It was very rough going in the first couple of months, trying to make Pokemon related content, especially when it came to openings, because product was not on the shelves. I did a lot of research and I finally came upon a subscription-based service out of New Jersey called Elite Pokebox, where you get a monthly box with 8 packs of Pokemon cards, the latest set, and a 1 in 4 shot of getting a graded card by PSA, BGS, or CGC. At the current price, at $50 a month, it was a no-brainer. We could do this every month. We could make a new video every single month. We could live stream it, whatever. We had the ability to do it, and I was in. They had me. If it does interest you, we do have a playlist completely dedicated to the Elite Pokebox openings, so you can go check that out, but stay here for a little while. Another benefit of being an Elite Pokebox member was that you were able to buy things off their Tribe Shop. The Tribe Shop is their marketplace where you can purchase Pokemon product, where you can get it for almost MSRP, maybe a little bit above, a little bit below, but you can purchase Pokemon card product. And at a time where Pokemon card products were few and far between, godsend. One of the listings caught my eye, and it was PSA grading. Now, usually PSA grading is about $20+ depending on the service that you charge. This one was listed at $13 a card, so it's far cheaper, and they got me. Having never graded a card before, I became instantly interested. It was a cheaper price than what was being put out there by PSA. It was something I'd never done, and graded cards were worth their weight in gold to the community. Cards were going for thousands of dollars, cards were, being graded in low population counts, and they were tradable, sellable. It interests me immediately. I decided to submit 15 of my most precious and oldest cards to see where they would grade, and those got sent out February of 2021, the very end of February 2021. Now, how the service works is that Elite Pokebox acts as a middleman, a retailer. They basically get your cards from you, they go through your submission sheet, they submit a PSA submission sheet and send it off to PSA for grading. But they do this with everybody. So it's not just my order. February 2021 was a group order. So me and X amount of other people in the tribe shop submitting cards to PSA for February of 2021. So Elite Pokebox gets the cards. They message me that they're received, that they're going through them, making sure that everything checks out. And maybe a week or two later, they're off to PSA. And then the unthinkable happens.
Well, I'm sure you've heard by now that on March 30th, PSA suspended nearly all card grading services. The only service levels currently open are Super Express at $300 a card, and also walkthrough services, which are $600 a card.
Frantically, I started emailing John, Elite Pokebox's owner, and I'm like, is this going to affect the grading at all? How is this going to affect the group submissions? What's going on? He was very helpful, very, very, very helpful, and he's like, it's not going to affect us at all. Your submission was already received. They're treating it. It's going to be fine. Man, was that dumb. It's geared as a way to shore up their backlog of cards because they've been taking in thousands, if not millions of cards at this point. So they want to catch up. They don't want any more submissions to come in, so they can really focus on the large chunk of cards that are going to be graded. I say perfect. This is going to be great. They're going to be able to focus on these cards. They're going to be able to get the grades out. It'll be even faster. Even John and Elite Pokebox tell me, oh, it might get here faster. It might be better overall that they shut down. Man, was that dumb. About 30 to 60 day turnaround, roughly. So it might have been the economy level that they were working with, but no big deal at that time. No big deal. I could wait 2 to 3 months and it'd be fine. 2 months came and went, and the cards were nowhere to be found. I kept asking what's the status, what's going on, almost every week. There was not a week that went by where I didn't message Elite Pokebox about what was happening with the group submission, what was going on with it. I kept being told it's fine, they're just working through everything, it'll be fine, no reason for concern. I was like, okay, this is gonna be over 2 months now. This is supposed to be back in 2 months, and it's past that date. But I get it. They're a huge company, grading millions of cards all the time. The backlog is they're still whittling away at the backlog, so it's no big deal. I was trying to be patient, trying to be understanding, but weeks turned into months, and months, and months. And I got combative with John, I got combative with Elite Pokebox, and it was very frustrating. These cards were nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be heard of, and things just started to get worse as I kept seeing things about PSA. It didn't help that I kept coming across mess-ups by PSA. There were cards that were submitted to PSA that were being found on eBay and Mercari that customers were like, what the hell, that's my card. There was a time where somebody had submitted a fake first edition Machoke card. They had put it through a printer to put the first edition from Wizards of the Coast on the card, and it passed all their inspections and it went through graded, and PSA kind of had to get it corrected. They had a partnership with PWCC. PWCC was found to be shill bidding on eBay and kicked off the platform. And they did that a lot with PSA graded cards at this time. They were inflating tons of cards' market prices, turning a couple $1,000 cards into hundreds of thousands of dollars, and like I said, they got kicked off of eBay. So summer of 2021, like I said, keep continuously messaging Elite Pokebox. They say, we haven't heard from our PSA vendor or our contact. We haven't heard from them, in a while. We don't know what's really going on. I keep getting concerned. Like, what the hell is going on at PSA that they're not informing their partners, people who have contracts with them, what's going on with these group submissions? Because it's not just my group submission. It's everyone's group submission. The Elite Pokebox isn't the only person or only entity that has these group submissions that act as middlemen. We were coming up on a year. It was about to turn 2022, and I finally asked, I was like, what is the reasoning behind all this? And so John explains that, well, a group submission is categorized differently than people who submit directly to PSA. People who submit directly to PSA are given far more speed in terms of their grading, while group orders are pushed to the back burner all of the time. So if you go on PSA's website, you could see this little graph, and it'll show you how long or how through submissions they are. That's nowhere accurate, because my submission was February of 2021, and they said that they had caught up with all of their grading in May of 2021, which I don't have my cards here, so that's not true. It became a running joke in the community. I would post on Twitter or have a conversation with someone else in the community that my PSA baby was X months old, that it could be in preschool now. It's now 19 months, so it's 600 plus days. So I think preschool is a good estimate. After April 2022, still no cards. My conversations with Elite Pokebox just kind of continued to repeat and repeat and repeat. And it was, we haven't heard anything, PSA hasn't said anything, we haven't seen anything. And I grew more and more frustrated with the fact that maybe my cards were stolen. It's been over a year. I was told it was going to be 30 to 60 days. Like, what is going on? So I got combative with them. I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense what PSA is putting out there on their website, what they're saying, what you guys are telling me. I began to not trust anything anyone was telling me. I decided to take matters in my own hands, and I messaged PSA about this. I grew concerned. I got suspicious that Elite Pokebox had stolen my cards, or someone had stolen my cards. And it was a really dumb idea, because I'm not the one who submitted the cards. That's Elite Pokebox's submission. My cards happen to be a small fraction of that submission. So the response I got back from PSA was, if you think your cards have been stolen, contact the cops. We don't know. And didn't help. Which I don't know why I thought it would, but it didn't help at all. This was roughly this past summer. I kept asking John, same thing, we don't know. And then I finally got an update on September 25th, 2022. John informed me that the full submission had returned to Elite Pokebox. They had gotten several submissions back that were just sitting at PSA, apparently, and there was an issue. So I thought the worst. I thought that my submission had been stolen legitimately, and that's what the issue was. All these submission orders were missing a ton of cards that they came back damaged. I know a lot of people who have received PSA slabs back and they've immediately been damaged, cracked. Pharaoh Yami is one of the people. he opened a PSA submission live, and he received a slab that was cracked immediately. On October 4th, John finally messaged me personally, not via Elite Pokebox's chat service. He reached out and informed me that the issue with the group submission was that they had been received ungraded. The entire submission of February 2021 was sent back to Elite Pokebox by PSA ungraded. They had no idea why all of these cards had been received back ungraded. They've been with PSA for almost 2 years. So John was waiting to hear back from PSA about why this group submission was received this way. Why was this issue happening? PSA eventually came back and said, listen, the issue is that some of the cards that were submitted were altered, if not outright fakes. Now, I know my cards aren't fake, because I pulled them all myself, but John did find the people who submitted fake cards, or altered cards, however you want to call it. They are members of Elite Pokebox, but these 5 members screwed up the entire submission group to PSA and everyone that had taken part of it, because PSA decided, rather than just send the cards straight back ungraded, they held on to that entire group submission for almost 2 years. Didn't inform Elite Pokebox about it until just this past few weeks what had happened. Granted, probably a great idea, because I had mentioned before, they have graded fake cards before, they have graded altered cards before. It's one of the reasons they're being looked at by the FBI. But the main thing is that they never told Elite Pokebox about it. Not once, until they received the submissions back and John and Elite Pokebox asked them what the hell happened. So yeah, this video was originally going to be me opening my first PSA submission, my first time receiving graded cards, which long past now because I went with a different grading company, but it has completely turned me off from using PSA. The entire process was bogged down by PSA's lack of communication with Elite Pokebox, lack of transparency at all in what was going on, and just holding on to these cards for over 600 days. There was no reason to hold on to the cards. The second that they found out that the submission group had altered cards, why not just return it? I don't blame Elite Pokebox for a lot of the give and take with the process. I know it's being a middleman. You know, you're talking to a frustrated customer, you're talking to a company that does not want to give anything to you, no information whatsoever, and it's very difficult to be the middleman at that point because you don't have anything to do with what's happening at PSA and you want to calm down the customer. It's a bad situation to be in. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, it costs $13 per card to submit to PSA through Elite Pokebox. So my submission was roughly about $200 of submission, like that's how much it cost. Because they were received ungraded, that money is gone. There's no way of recouping that $200. PSA got paid the $200, or at least my $200. I don't know how much the entire group submission was, but I'm gonna guess thousands of dollars. PSA gets all of that money without having to really do anything, and we get our cards back. Worse is that Elite Pokebox is out all of that money as well. They have to take the hit toward the customer. It looks like they're inept. It looks like they don't know what they're doing, when really it's PSA. It's PSA not being transparent, not being upfront with what's going on, and just hanging on to people's cards for months at a time. I think it's unacceptable for a company to do that, especially the largest company in terms of grading. I still don't have the cards back. That'll be a subsequent video, and I can show you what cards I had submitted to PSA. But I'm not happy about how it took so long for PSA to inform anybody about the situation, about them holding on to those cards for so long, and them being the top grading company in people's opinion in the world. To have them do that and to screw over customers, to screw over people who are their partners out of money because a few bad apples in the bunch ruined it for everybody else is unacceptable. I understand. You found fake cards. You found altered cards. I get it. You guys, you have a reputation to uphold. You have issues with grading fake and altered cards in the past. I get it. I understand why you didn't grade them. I get that. Why were they not sent back to Elite Pokebox when you found those cards? These cards were apparently going through the grading process this past May. It's October. What the hell were you guys doing? There's no excuse for that. There really isn't. The second that you guys found these cards, the people who submitted these altered or fake cards, you should have just sent the cards back. Been like, hey, this is the reason why We don't grade fake or altered cards. We have integrity. I just want to be transparent with you guys. Nope, didn't get any of that. They sent them back only a couple weeks ago and gave no credence about what was going on. So personally, I'm done with PSA. That was my first PSA submission. I am not grading with PSA at all ever again, because it was a terrible experience. It was an awful experience, and I still don't have my cards back. They're on their way back now. That'll be a subsequent video, but they're raw. They're ungraded. I don't have to promote PSA at all because I'm never going to. I do have PSA slabs. They're not cards that I personally pulled, but yeah, I can't get over how terribly handled this situation was by them and putting partners out to dry. It's something that they really need to be held accountable for. They also have all these partnerships with these less than reputable companies, PWCC, like I mentioned before, BBCE. They're known for the Logan Paul incident.
We all got duped.
All of these places have a partnership with PSA, and PSA routinely just doesn't answer anything. I'm tired of it. I want transparency. I want to know why things are done like that. I want to know why my cards were just being held for over a year by you guys. I don't think it's too much to ask. That's the story. That's what happened. And yeah, I'm never grading cards with PSA. I hope it was a little informative for what happened. Like I said, this video was not originally meant to be this. It wasn't meant to be the story of how I got screwed over by PSA, but it's how it is. It's the reality of the situation, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. You can message me on Twitter or comment below to, if you have any other questions, but that is what happened. Those are the facts of the situation, and I hope you guys learn from it. Till next time, take care, guys.